Hey guys, today we're driving the 2022 Subaru Forester Wilderness, the most off-road capable version of the Forester. And I've got to say, I'm actually pretty impressed with what Subaru is doing with their Wilderness lineup. It's not just another soft roader with a few badges and accents slapped on, though it does have a lot of badges everywhere. But this is actually a pretty comprehensive off-road package. We have a continuously variable transmission with a shorter final drive ratio. We have all-terrain tires, Yokohama GO15s. This has about the same wheelbase as the Subaru Crosstrek, so it has pretty good approach, departure, and breakover angles. They've tweaked the front and rear bumpers to improve those angles. We have slightly higher ground clearance, too, about half an inch higher than the standard Forester. This has 9.2 inches of ground clearance, which is almost encroaching upon Toyota 4Runner levels of ground clearance. Not quite, but pretty darn close. And just a very nice, usable interior. Pricing on this is around $34,000. You can add a couple options. As tested, this is about 35 grand. We have the older infotainment and climate control setup here from Subaru, which is actually very user-friendly and just works. It's not like the silly new tablets that we've seen in the Outback and some other new Subaru models. We even get a CD player. Love it. This is so much easier to live with on a daily basis than some of the other Subaru infotainment systems. A lot of buttons, a lot of switchgear. Some of it on the steering wheel is a bit confusing. It's not the fastest car out there. This just has the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated Boxer 4-cylinder. It makes 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque, I think. So it's not quick, but it is quicker than the standard Forester because of that lower CVT gear ratio. We get dual X-mode all-wheel drive, nice chunky heated seat buttons, a forward camera view, which is obscured by a water droplet right now. But yeah, let's walk you around this Forester Wilderness. We did a pretty comprehensive off-road test in one of these earlier this summer, and I was pretty impressed with its capability. It did a really nice job. Let's evaluate this on the street today. We'll talk a little bit more about it. We'll walk you around it in more detail and talk about what this has been like to live with this week. So you can see the slightly tweaked and shortened front bumper. I believe this changes the approach angle from about 20 degrees to a little over 23 degrees from the standard Forester. We have two 25/60R17-inch Yokohama Geolandar GO15 tires, which is actually a pretty decent all-terrain. They're quiet, they maintain good grip on the road, and off-road they seem to have pretty good traction in the mud, on rocks, in the snow. It's a kind of an all-terrain tire that does it all without being too hardcore. Lots of plastic cladding to protect the fenders and just make this look a little bit more off-roady and rugged. Slightly shorter rear bumper too that's higher up for a better departure angle. We have an uprated roof rack. This can take, I think, 800 pounds static, moving about 200 pounds, so you can put a rooftop tent on this, no problem. Nice low loading floor. We also get, check this out, a full-size spare tire back here. Great, thank you Subaru. They know what people are going to be doing with these cars. Yeah, 225/60R17 Yokohama Geolandar fits perfectly back there, and you've even got a little bit more room to put things underneath this very thick rubber floor mat. Got buttons back here to fold down those rear seats. Tons of cargo space in this thing. This has Subaru's Softex leather-like seating surfaces. It's breathable. It's a synthetic polyurethane material, but it feels pretty nice. It's kind of soft. Subaru claims this is a pretty resilient material. It can be washed off very easily. It looks pretty nice though with this contrast yellow stitching. You see little Subaru Wilderness tags everywhere. Super easy car to get in and out of. The roof height is very nice. Ingress and egress is great. I barely have to duck to get into these back seats, and same with the front seats too. We have a massive panoramic front moonroof. Tons of visibility. Look at the greenhouse in this thing. Really good view over the hood. As far as packaging goes, this Forester's a pretty great car, honestly. It's not the best looking vehicle out there, but I do like this color. Look at these fog lights here. They look very similar to a lot of other off-road lights that you see in the aftermarket. Spot for a tow hook. Lots of Subaru Wilderness badging. Let's pop the hood, take a look at that 2.5 liter boxer 4-cylinder. You do take a somewhat substantial hit on fuel economy, unfortunately, though, compared to the standard Subaru Forester. Part of that is the raised ground clearance, the off-road tires, the shorter gear ratio with the CVT. So this is rated at 28 miles to the gallon on the highway and 25 in the city. About a 3 mile per gallon combined hit compared to the standard Forester. So yeah, you're making some sacrifices for off-road capability and drivability, but you have to kind of decide at the end of the day if this package is worth it for what you do. And I think there's also a little bit of a cool factor here too with this Wilderness. Here's your matte black hood graphic here to reduce reflections. And then underneath you've got a skid plate. Doesn't seem super substantial. Not the thickest skid plate I've seen out there, but it should help with some lighter impacts. And I do think Subaru sells some from the dealer that you can outfit this Forester Wilderness with, and I'm sure there's a lot in the aftermarket as well. Alright, let's hop inside. We'll walk around this front seat area just a little bit more, but I think it's probably about time to take this for a drive. We get a couple of different throttle maps here. S Sharp, which is super aggressive off the line, and just standard intelligent, which neither of them are particularly well tuned. Subaru doesn't do the best job with the throttle map tuning. It's not as linear as I would like it to be, but you can definitely get used to driving this car after a few miles. This Forester has about as many physical buttons as I've seen in any new car these days. It's kind of bordering on too much. There's just a whole lot going on here, especially on the steering wheel. There's your cruise control, your distance control, your throttle map right here, your lane keep assist or lane centering assist, which is active steering. You've got buttons down here to change your info display. It's a little bit overwhelming at first, though you do get used to it. We do also get this little tiny screen up top, which can show us our forward-facing camera and a bunch of different info displays. You can cycle through that with this little info button right here. Reverse camera looks pretty good. We can close this moonroof to get a little bit better view of the screen. Got rotating lines, pretty wide angle so you can see around corners. Up here we've got buttons to turn off our lane keep assist, collision avoidance, and you can slide your sunroof back and forth. That is one of the bigger sunroofs I think I have ever seen. Nice. And then when you close it, it takes the shade with it. Cool. We'll leave that open. Lights the interior up a little bit better. Alright, let's head out, take this for a drive, see what it's like on the road. I mentioned it earlier while we were in the back seat, but the biggest thing that I enjoy about this Forester is just the visibility is incredible. I can see so well. I'm not as tall or as high up as I would be in a bigger crossover or SUV, but it's still a nice high driving position, and I can just see so far down and around me. I have such a good idea of where my tires are going to be placed. I mean, for off-road driving, for kind of crawling around at low speed, that's pretty ideal, but on the daily basis, I just feel like I can really wheel this car around with confidence, and there's no guesswork as to what traffic or vehicles are around me or where I'm placing my wheels. It's actually really nice and very refreshing to get into a new car that has what feels like 90s levels of visibility outside. It's fantastic. 60 happens in about half a second less in this Wilderness than the standard Forester due to that shorter CVT gear ratio. This also has an 8-speed fake ratio from the CVT instead of a 7-speed. It's quick enough. No major complaints about power. I mean, it's not WRX fast like the Outback Wilderness feels like, but think this is just fine for most people's use. The only area where I can see it becoming a little bit too sluggish is at altitude up in the mountains. So something to think about if you're living in Colorado or really way up high. You might want to swing for the Outback with the turbo. At speed, it's pretty quiet. Let's test out our active steering assist here. Eyesight's seeming to do a pretty good job. You can skip 5-mile-an-hour increments pretty easily. We've got a little graphic here in the center screen showing us when we're putting our brakes on. You can easily cancel the system or re-engage it. Super simple. We've got nice comfortable seats, lots of adjustability with our driving position, tilting and telescoping steering wheel, mechanically operated seat controls here on the driver's side. Steering is pretty light. I mean, for an off-road oriented version of a car, this feels very nimble, very agile. It handles really well. We're in pretty wet conditions today, so we can't really push it, but this really doesn't see that much of a sacrifice in handling compared to the standard Forester. Stop start is pretty smooth. Occasionally you'll get a rougher start from this Boxer engine. These Boxer motors aren't the best with stop start systems, but you can easily turn that off too with a button down here. And these Geolanders do okay in the wet. A little bit of rotation off throttle, which is fun. We've got paddle shifters behind the wheel. While we're cruising here, let's just do a quick sound system test. This has a Harman Kardon sound system. Not bad, sounds pretty good to me. Very powerful bass. Doesn't deteriorate too much when you crank the volume. Alright, let's test out some acceleration here. Get on the far right lane. Put into Sport Sharp. CVTs are kind of known for being sluggish off the line for those first 10-15 miles per hour, but this actually feels pretty good. Alright guys, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in the new Forester Wilderness. Pretty impressed with this car this week. It looks cool. I think it offers some pretty decent off-road capability for the extra money. Yes, it's not going to be a Toyota 4Runner, but you'll get better fuel economy. It's a little bit smaller. I think it offers a really good amount of interior space and practicality. This should be a pretty reliable setup too. You're not stressing that CVT as much with a high-power turbocharged engine. This seems like a pretty robust package, and I love this interior. I think this whole center stack with the physical climate knobs and the smaller, more responsive touchscreen is just kind of the sweet spot for Subaru, and that's one of the top selling points of this Forester for me versus the Outback. Is with the Outback Wilderness you get that big tablet, and it just gets irritating and annoying to live with. In this, you just got your big physical buttons, your nice heated seat controls, which have just the best feel to them. Oh, that's wonderful. And everything else here seems to deliver very well on road. So very few sacrifices except for fuel economy and a little bit extra price compared to the standard Forester, and I think there's a whole lot else to like here. So top mark for the Subaru Forester Wilderness. Hopefully they come out with a Crosstrek Wilderness at some point. I think that would sell like crazy. And of course, you know me, I'm trying to create my own BRZ Wilderness. More on that soon. But yeah, a cool trim from Subaru, and I appreciate that it's not just another soft roader with a few badges slapped on. They've actually done some development and changes here that make this pretty off-road capable. If you wanted to even improve the off-road capability of this, you could throw some slightly larger tires on here, maybe push the wheels out a bit closer to the edge of the fenders. Yeah, it would look pretty proper, but as it sits from the factory, a nice overall package, and I think pretty compelling at the price point too. All right, guys, that'll be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.